from Encounter Youth and welcome to episode 1 of our new series, Eat, Sleep, Peace, Repeat. As some of you might remember, at Limitless Festival 2020, I spoke on the importance of our daily habits and how we consider them relevant to our physical health, but can forget just how important and significant they are to our mental health. And so since you guys get the benefit of just hours more content from me, I thought I'd make it into a whole series, you lucky things. And this series idea, doing something in themes, is going to be quite important going forward. Because it's September, guys, and you know what September means? Everything changes. And so with COVID, we've had to make some changes to how we run the youth ministry. But you'll be glad to know, I don't think it's worse. I'm actually really looking forward to how we are going forward. So Sundays we'll start with a theme talk. The theme this time being Eat, Sleep, Peace, Repeat. Eat, Sleep, Peace, Repeat. It's about well-being. And so on Thursdays we'll have drop-ins, and they'll be at local coffee shops. This week we'll be in Costa at the Selly Oak Retail Park, and you can chat to others in the group and find out what time they'll be swinging by. And so if I'm going to be there from 3:45 till 5, then you've got a window that you might want to catch up with us, catch up with each other, so on and so forth. And then our Friday nights, therefore, they're switching up as well. We're trying to do more socials and age groups and all of that stuff. You'll hear more soon, I promise. And so, if you're in Alpha on Monday, you're still in Alpha on Monday, 5 PM on Zoom. We might move that to the coffee lounge soon, but for now we're on Zoom. Okay, so without further ado, today's theme talk. Eat, sleep, peace, repeat. So today, you may have guessed, is eat. Let's talk about food. We all relate to food differently. Some of you would even say you probably haven't, thought of yourself as having a relationship with food as such. Some of you, it's really obvious because food just isn't quite a straightforward area in your life. And so today I want to get you thinking about two things. What do you put into your body and why? And then what impact does your diet have on your mental health? Or put more simply, how does your mood affect your food? And how does your food affect your mood? Our mood has a huge influence on what we feel like eating. So let's get into that. How does mood affect food? So if we're feeling quite low in mood, think sad, depressed, can't really feel anything, we might use food as a way of connecting. So we might want to taste something that tastes really good, really high in like fats and sugars. Think cake or chips. Equally, actually, if we're feeling quite tired, we're more likely to want those foods as well. And it's not really a coincidence, considering when you're feeling depressed, kind of the first things that come are lack of energy and motivation to do stuff. So eating stuff that's easy to eat and makes us feel good feels like a win. If we're feeling more anxious, you might be struggling to make decisions, so you're more likely to just kind of go with the first thing you see, or eat what others are eating, or maybe not eat at all because we're so stuck in our thoughts. Maybe you're more like me, and sometimes you wonder whether it would be better if you weren't as hungry when you were anxious, because instead what I tend to do is just eat foods that are really high in salt really quickly. So think whole tub of Pringles in about 15 minutes. Food can feel like a solution to more than just our hunger. We kind of eat things to cheer us up or distract us from being bored. And equally, actually, we cannot eat because that makes us feel good about ourselves as well. We might become really strict about what we eat, and it can give ourselves a sense of control when other things feel out of our hands. Maybe we eat or don't eat certain foods at certain times of the day, or cut out entire food groups so that we can look a certain way or perform at a certain sport. And the point is that we eat and don't eat for lots of reasons, and that can make food itself quite stressful. It's important for us to remember, though, that whilst food is important, the Bible reminds us not to rely on food for everything. Deuteronomy chapter 8 verse 3 says that we shouldn't rely on physical food, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God. That is God himself, the things that he says are Bible, the things that he says about us, truth. And so using food to try and improve our mood or our opinion of ourselves is therefore kind of shaky territory, because we're giving food more power than it should have. And I'm not saying that food isn't important. If you try with not eating for a significant period of time, you will die. That's a guarantee. So it is important, but as I alluded to at the beginning, what we eat and how we eat affects how we feel, both short term and long term. So Mind UK has quite a lot to say about the impact of food, or actually of not eating, on our mental health. And it talks about different food groups, it talks about the biology. It actually goes into quite a lot of detail in a really simple video as well on their website. So you may want to check that out. That's on Mind UK. Just Google food and mood and you'll find it. But I've got a little bit of a summary in this talk if you can't be bothered to do that. So firstly, food, how frequently we eat affects our blood sugar levels. That makes sense, right? You eat a food, you break it down, the energy in your body increases, basically. So eating because we feel tired makes sense, because sugar spikes our energy. We have to be careful about how we balance that out. If your blood sugar drops suddenly, you'll feel much more tired, potentially quite irritable and quite low in mood. So eating more regularly and choosing foods that release energy slowly helps to keep things nice and stable and steady. So slow release foods include things like pastas and rice, oats, whole grain, breads, cereals, nuts, seeds. And so people find eating those sorts of things at breakfast quite helpful because it's a good start to the day. So instead of eating a really large lunch or dinner, just kind of eating smaller portions spaced out a bit more can be more helpful. If you're in school, if you look at your school timetable, you normally have some time in the really, really early morning when you wake up. So that might be a good time for like fruit. But then you have break time, and at break time maybe you could eat like a bar or like toast or something that has a little bit more energy packed in. That will keep you going and your blood sugar going until lunch, where you have, 2 hours later, you could have, some more food that is, again, not like a full big meal, but more food. And then you finish school and you can get home and have something small, again, before dinner, where you might not eat a massive portion. And then you're keeping energy bursts throughout your day and your blood sugar is nice and stable. Another really helpful thing to do is to not eat foods that make your blood sugar rise really quickly and then fall really quickly too often. So that's things like sweets and biscuits and sugary drinks and stuff. And I'm not saying don't eat them, absolutely don't take that from what I'm saying, because that would make me a hypocrite because I eat those foods a lot. But I still have to eat them in moderation. So, I mean, something like a Twix, having the first bar at break and the second bar at lunch, good tip. Spread out the energy. And just being mindful of the impact that what you eat has on your mood. It's also recommended that you drink loads of water and stuff like that. Having good vitamins, minerals, energy from our food is really important. So trying to up our fruit and veg can be good for lots of things. One, concentration. Vitamins are really good for that, and they have fruits and vegetables have water as well. So it's really good for our brain, because our brain is mainly water. Also trying to make sure that we have lots of fibre and look after our gut, because funnily enough, even though our gut is just like this big tube or whatever, it's actually really intelligent. Actually, it's the second most intelligent part of our body after our brain. So forget your spinal cord, don't forget your spinal cord, really important. But actually our gut is more complicated than even that. And that's because it's how we moderate our appetite, but also our stress levels. So when you get really stressed or worried about something, you notice some interesting things happen down here. And if you've been anxious for weeks on end, you might start to notice like more digestive issues like IBS and other things that no one wants. And so learning what foods are really good for your gut are also really good for your mind and your mental health, because of how they balance appetite and stress. And so what foods are those, Abs? What are you talking about? Well, there's a list. First of all, it's things like fruits and vegetables that are high in fibre, whole grains, slow release energy, and then also like beans, pulses, live yogurt, so that's stuff that's got the active probiotics in, and just things that help to clean out that area. Really good. Some of you might be thinking, okay, you've mentioned all this stuff, but you've not mentioned protein. Protein is so important because it, again, gives energy quite slowly. So proteins in like lean meats, fish, eggs, cheese, the legumes, so those like beans and lentils I mentioned as well. And it's really good because it helps you feel full for quite a long time, so you don't have to eat as much for you to feel quite good and satisfied, but also it's a really good source of energy and really good for being able to like do exercise and stuff like that and recover from exercise. So then we've spoken about the gut, we've spoken about the brain. I've missed something out. Stress. So when we were talking about the gut, I was talking a little bit about how you release stress hormones and things. And so some of you, if you watched the video from Limitless Festival, you know that I spoke quite a lot about relaxation and breathing deeply. And so being able to eat our food slowly and mindfully is also really, really important. There are studies that show that actually French people, sounds like I'm about to say something racist, I don't know why, I'm not. Basically, in France, people typically sit down and eat their meals a lot slower. So even though French people, as a stereotype, but also it's true, they drink more wine and they eat more meat than many people over here in the UK, they also have quite low cholesterol and really good blood sugar levels. So what is that about? It's about the fact that they sit down and enjoy their meals. Often, if you're anything like me, we kind of pick stuff up and eat as we're going, and that's not really good for our digestive system either, nor is it good for our stress, nor is it good for our breathing. It's just not a very good way of eating. What's a lot better is to sit down and make sure you're really enjoying the food that you eat, eating it, really smelling it, really tasting it, and experiencing it fully. And that can be really good for stress as well, or for not being stressed. And then lastly, caffeine. So a lot of you are at that age where you've just started drinking like a lot of tea, just started realizing that coffee is quite helpful for waking up in the morning. Maybe you're on a bit of the extreme end and you're an energy drinks person, think Red Bull or those 35p things you should really avoid in supermarkets. So caffeine has a massive impact on sleep. Now today's not about sleep, sleep is next week, but what we put in definitely affects our sleep and our mood. So being able to make sure that we kind of have a time where we stop drinking caffeine in the day can be quite helpful, because it impacts our sleep. And so that's in tea, coffee, cola drinks, energy drinks, and chocolate actually. So a hot chocolate before bed sounds wonderful, but again, not that helpful as well. So yeah, those are just a few things on food and what we eat and how they can really affect us and our mental health. So why am I talking to you about this on a Sunday morning? And it's because actually God really cares about you. He really cares about your body. Actually, in the Bible we find that our body is a temple of the Holy Spirit. If you're a Christian, a believer in God, then we believe that when we accept Jesus Christ, the Spirit of God comes and lives within us, in this body. And our bodies are not perfect, but they're exactly how God created them to be. And we can do all that we can to really respect His creation, respect the home He's made in us, and look after ourselves. And by looking after our bodies and looking after our minds, we also look after other people in our lives. We're stronger, we're happier, we're more fun to be around, we're more likely to be able to listen to other people and what they're experiencing, we're more likely to be generous, we're more likely to do well in school, we're more likely to do a lot of things. And that's the way that God intended us to be. He intended us to look after His bodies, His home, our bodies that He's created, with love and respect and care. And so I also believe He's kind of the only one who can support us in doing that. I've mentioned a few behaviours that are quite problematic in my interaction with food, and I'm sure as I've been speaking you've possibly noticed something that you do and kind of wish you didn't. And so I would really encourage you to hand that over to God and allow Him to teach you better ways of interacting with His creation. But also come along on Thursday and maybe we can talk more specifically about you and what's been going on for you, how you use your body, and what you eat and what you wish you ate and whatever, I don't know. Or maybe you just want to talk about, I don't know, first week back at school, whatever it is. But I'd love to see you catch up and unpack this a little bit more soon. Have a great week guys, and we'll hear from you soon. Bye!